So much easier. Okay, so hello everybody. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. It doesn't really matter. Good day. It is Monday here, my favorite day of the week, Melissa's Monday Madness, of course. And today my guest is Erin Benoit. So Erin is a spiritual medium and an aromatherapist, which we're going to be talking about both. So Erin, I'd love for you to introduce yourself. And I will let you do that while I get all synced up here.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for having me. I am Erin Benoit, and I'm a spiritual medium. I've been, I guess, psychic all my life, or at least intuitive, and felt really compelled to and drawn to any kind of psychic phenomenon and stuff like that. But it wasn't until a few years ago that I really started figuring out my gifts and kind of where that falls in the world. And my job up until then had been as an aromatherapist. So I've been doing that for 14 years now. And I really, really love it.
With that, you had to actually become certified in that, didn't you?
Yes. Yeah, I took a year-long program.
So now do they make people do that now when they get into aromatherapy, or is it not as stringent as it was then?
Well, in Canada, there's no real governing body for any of the natural health components at all. I just wanted the education. I wanted to know what I was doing. I wanted to feel confident in that. And since then, like 14 years ago, not everybody really, it wasn't really a household name as much as it is now. And it really has blown up around the world and in Canada. And so there's dozens and dozens of different brands that are available through many different avenues. And so unfortunately, there are quite a few safety concerns and people who just purchase direct from the company and then use the internet for the information. So it's not always accurate and it's not always safe. And people don't know that it's a job, that there are experts in their field and that they can seek us out for help and that sort of thing. So it's really changed a lot in the last decade. And hello, Kitty.
My soul cat, she's like my soulmate. Go ahead, keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, so it's just changed a lot. So when I first started out, I used to have to tell people what essential oils are. Most people nowadays know, in fact, and they try to tell me about it. I'm like, oh, that's refreshing. So I taught seminars and classes years ago for a local company, and then just continued on to do my own research and development with that. And it really it's changing like all the time. There's a lot more scientific research behind it now. There's a lot more, I think there's the Tisrand Institute does a lot of the safety data. And so every year they compile complaints and people who have had adverse reactions and stuff like that. And we see kind of what they're doing wrong so that we can, I don't know that we'll ever get to a point where we'll have like a universal standard for it because they're so readily available through so many different avenues. But if you're looking to use essential oils, then just know that there are people out there that have trained for it and they know the safety issues, and these are good people to seek out when you're getting started, or even if you've been doing it for a while and just want to know, am I doing it right? What else could I be doing with it? That sort of thing.
So we'll get into that question then, since we kind of skipped to aromatherapy right away.
Okay.
What do you have any specific tips or tricks, any specific trends that you've noticed that aren't safe or may concern you in your knowledge rather than the knowledge that people are just getting off the internet?
Yeah, for sure. In my training and in Canada is a very conservative country. So there are some restrictions with Health Canada and different regulations in terms of what in the labeling of essential oils, what needs to be written on the bottle and that sort of thing. And so the trend or one of the big controversial topics nowadays is whether or not essential oils should be used internally. And so, and how to do that safely if and which ones to use and which ones not. But the biggest harm that we have seen is when people are trying to use the oils orally, so taking it by mouth, so putting the oils in their mouth or in capsules. Those have been the worst reactions, and even some has caused some deaths, usually in young children who's gotten hold of the bottle inadvertently. And then topical application would be the next. So where people are reacting with skin burns or skin reactions. So those are there's a few companies that say their oils can be used without dilution, or that water will dilute the oils. Don't understand how that works, because oils float on water. You can shake it up if you're really shaking it before using it, I suppose, but then it's still going to play that polarity role. And then how much to dilute and how strong the oil can be. And then our wording is interesting to me, because dilution, when somebody says like a high dilution versus a low dilution.
Okay, shut the door. Sorry.
No worries.
Potty training a 3-year-old. So we're gonna. Oh, she shut the door. Oh my God, she shut the door. That is shocking in itself. The fact that she actually shut the door, like that's super huge right now. Okay, so sorry, I am just making sure. Rini B is watching, so I was just trying to keep up with the comments while on the video as well. So here, put it out here. Hey, put it out here. No? Okay, make sure you shut the door. Sorry, not everybody wants to see her go to the bathroom, so maybe we'll just turn it a little bit. I may have to run away for a second. No okay, so to continue, sorry everybody for the delay. Like I said, potty training a 3.5-year-old. Well, she's basically potty trained, but of course the best place for me to do the video is right in front of the bathroom. So for anybody watching, if you do have any questions for Erin or for myself during this video or after this video, please feel free to post. You will be able to get all of the links to Erin's website as well as Erin's Facebook page from my website. So make sure you are checking it out. Now, so let's get into being a spiritual medium. So what does being a spiritual medium mean for you?
Being a spiritual medium means that I connect with loved ones who have crossed over on the other side, and I work for spirit. Although my clients are the people who are sitting in front of me in person. Yeah. It means that I get to be a part of someone's healing journey and their grieving journey. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's amazing. I'm a medium. I choose not to promote my mediumship because the thought of doing mediumship panics me when I'm like, I'm not scared to do it, but every time someone would book an appointment for mediumship, I was like, oh God, like I just don't want to do it. And I knew that part of it was my ego, but the other part of it, I was just like, no, I just don't want to do this. So I choose not to. Like, I still get mediumship messages if I'm doing card readings. Hold on, Haley. Whatever mediumship messages I get, I will absolutely forward, right? Because spirit won't stop unless you do. And they definitely don't care about your beliefs or wants or needs. So they tend to get through one way or another. So what joy, and I'm going to run out while you answer this question just to, you know, clean a potty break for a second. But what joy do you get from being a spiritual medium? Like, why do you do it? What's your driving force, and what benefit do you get of being a spiritual medium? And I will be right back, so please answer. I can still hear.
Okay. My driving force came from spirit itself. I was guided to do the work that I'm doing now, and it kind of came about in a way that was unexpected to me. And it's work that I feel is really important to do, because I came into it at a time when I was looking for a medium myself, and I didn't know that I was a medium. And so for me to help others in the same way on their journey is just amazing to me, because I know how much it can mean to somebody to need to make that connection and to resolve maybe some issues that they didn't get to finish, or even just to know that life doesn't end after this plane. So
Absolutely. So we do have a question about essential oils from Angela. She asked, hi, Erin, what kind of oils can be used as a carrier oil for essential oils? So while you answer that, I apparently have to run just another second.
That's a great question. So carrier oils are usually a thicker molecule oil, and what we call usually a vegetable oil. So any vegetable oil that you have on hand can be a carrier, but each oil does have its own properties and characteristics as well. And some are just easier to work with than others. So my favorite oil to work with is fractionated coconut oil. So they fractionated it out so it doesn't solidify at room temperature anymore, so it'll actually stay liquid. It also doesn't go rancid very readily, and so it's a great oil for mixing blends, especially for like a rollerball remedy, something like that. It's not going to gum up the ball, it's not going to go rancid over time, and so fractionated coconut oil is my favorite carrier to use.
Very nice. So again, I apologize, terrible timing. Of course, you know, this child, I love her dearly. She's my most stubborn, influential child that I have out of 4. And with her, she only goes to the bathroom. Like, I go to the bathroom like every 20 minutes, every hour. Like I'm constantly, right? And she will wait and go like 5 times a day. Like all day, like 5 times a day. And of course she chooses this moment to go to the bathroom. So it is what it is, I guess. But
yeah.
Okay, so moving on. Again, if anybody has any questions like Angela did, please feel free to ask them, and I will make sure that I ask Erin, or I answer your question if it's something that I know about. Essential oils is not something I know about at all. I have 2 of them, and that's it. What? And of course, more water. Grab Mom's water. Mom's water is in the fridge. Grab it. All right. So next question. What things do you like to do for you? Because like I said on one of my previous episodes, 99% of people who I ask that question to will answer business-wise. So outside of business, what do you like to do for yourself? What pumps you up, gets you excited? What do you like to do to unwind and relax?
Yeah, my favorite thing to do is sing. So I'm a singer, and that's a really great outlet and expression. And then I love anything crafty. So whether it be paper crafts, or my latest thing is making jewelry type things out of crystals. All of that feeds my soul. So it gives me something to do in the evening to keep my hands busy, but then it's also productive too. So it does kind of, I can sell it at work. So it kind of ties my 2 passions together.
What, so you said that you had some examples that you were grabbing. So why don't we show those and see what those are all about?
I'll show you a few here. So amethyst is my favorite crystal just because it's also my birthstone. It's also really, yeah, so it's very great with connecting to spirit and opening your crown chakra. And so hopefully you can see it there.
Very
so
nice.
When I have the crystal quartz on top of the amethyst slab, I'm going to call it. And then with this one has a little butterfly on it.
I should get you to
so
make
this
me
one
some
would
of
be
those
more
for my malas.
What's that?
I said I should get you to make me some mala, the endings of my malas.
Okay.
I always, I've been actually looking for some like that to put at the base of my malas.
Oh, very cool.
That would be really interesting. Collaborating.
Yeah, this one I just have a little jump ring on it. So it's great for connecting to like a little zipper pull or onto your keychain. And then these ones are some of my other favorite ones, again, with the amethyst bead. And then I've got the little, I don't know what it's called, but like the
Hamza hand.
Thank you. And
Yeah.
then with the little charm here on the bottom. So then I hand stamp each one of those little words on there.
Very
And
nice.
so each one has a different theme or a different word. And while I'm working on it, I'm like putting that intention into the crystals and into the piece. And so just it gives me joy. And then I have a bunch of different ones with just different types of crystals, but all in a very similar design. And then
I love working with crystals.
Little angel wing on there. Some of those ones
are super cute,
popular as well. This one's with the sodalite. So yeah, that's my little crafty side project that I love.
Do you ever find that you have trouble like not keeping everything?
Yes.
Yeah. So out of all mine, I think I've kept 5 bracelets. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the hardest thing with anything artistic, because they're all so unique and they're all so different. And so I don't just, some of them I really like to design, and so then I will try and duplicate it. And so that I can keep one for me and still give them out to people. And but you know, there is a totally different joy in giving your favorite things away too, and to see it out into the world and to put that energy out there. And so I'm working on not hoarding them all.
Yeah, it's very hard. I have quite a few that I have, like just the bracelets and the malas, and I have a few that I've kept, and I have a few that are for sale, and I took the tags off of all of them because now they're on my website. And like whenever I do a live or if I'm going into town, I'm just like, oh, maybe I'll wear this one today. Just like, okay. Which it gets infused with some positive energy, and they're cleansed every full moon. So who cares if I wear it for an evening or whatever. But we do have a question. I would ask Sky, can you tell me what my next step should be for my gifts opening and staying open? So that'll go at the end, and we will address that at the end, because I know that Erin has something that she wants to talk about, which is in relation to that, and I do as well. So we're going to get to that question in just a few moments. But I'm going to continue with my questions first. Okay, so let's see. What is your story? So I don't know whether we should do that question first, or if we should do the question on what would you tell people who are just starting out. So maybe we'll talk about your story first. So what is your story? How did you get involved in this? What were you looking for, and kind of what were your pain points at that time?
Yeah. For me, it actually happened pretty, I like to say it kind of happened to me, and then I just embraced it. So like I was saying before, like I've always been interested in psychic development, psychic phenomenon. I've had, a few little oracle cards that I got when I was a teenager and dabbled in those, and I always read my horoscope, stuff like that. I would do, astrology readings for friends because it was something I was interested in. And but the mediumship, I hadn't really heard of that, or I didn't think I had. I didn't really know what it was. But I would watch TV shows on TV, and I would always be like, oh man, I wish I could do that. And then I was seeing this fellow about 4 years ago, and I had this dream. Anyways, I knew his mom had passed, and I had this dream, and in my dream, it was like a lucid dream, I guess. It was, to me, it felt as real as you and I talking right now. And in this dream, the woman told me that I would be doing this work. She told me it was the dream took place in a bicycle factory, and she talked about putting the training wheels on the bikes. And so just from doing my own like dream symbology, I kind of got out of the dream and woke up and goes, okay, so I'm in training. And all the bikes were green, so I'm like, I'm new, I'm green to this. And she explained to me, we send signs and symbols from heaven to people on earth that are connected to us. And in my dream, I figured out that this fellow was connected to her somehow. So I thought it was his mom. And so I'm like, oh, tell me about him. So she showed me some images of him upon my request. And when I woke up and I questioned him about it, it was all true. Only it wasn't his mom, it was his aunt who had just passed. And she was showing me images of them together the last time he saw her alive. And I was like, okay, whoa, this is real. And I'm in training and this is what I'm going to be doing. And then I started to hear the voices. And it was very different than my intuition, you know, that little voice inside your head that, did I leave the stove on? Oh, don't forget. Oh, you forgot your keys. Or Rhonda, can I do this? Maybe I'll go here today. And then you find out later there was a big accident or something that you avoided. It wasn't like that little voice inside. There was a big voice coming from outside me. So I called it an angel intervention. And what it was telling me was that someone close to me was going to be passing. And sure enough, 2 weeks later, he did. And it was my son's father. And so I became a single mom, and the dreams stopped, the voices stopped for quite a while we grieved. And it was about that time that I found Carmel's TV show and found out about like what a medium was, and that it wasn't just like this big hype somewhere out of the world. It can be as local as Edmonton, Alberta. And so I'm like, oh, wow, okay, like a hometown girl. And because I was born in Alberta. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to, like, she just seemed a little bit more down to earth. And so I started following her, and I took all her courses. And so I really did learn from her courses. And it's just grown from there. And then now in hindsight, I can look back and see all the moments in my life where I was already doing it. And I was already having these experiences, but I didn't know what to call it. And I just thought it was interesting.
Once you really do open it up, you do find the coincidences. There is a negative to that too, though. Once, like, I had an experience the other day where Tom was having an issue. I went negative, and I went worst case scenario, because I always acknowledge whatever negativity is going on. I acknowledge it because that's part of learning, right? Yeah. So this this thing happened with him, and I went full blown worst case scenario, and I knew what was happening as it was happening, but I'm like, well, maybe let's just go with this, right? And as soon as I went worst case scenario, the coincidences started coming, and they're like, oh, well, this is happening, so it helps strengthen that worst case scenario, right? So when you open up, whether it's a negative or a positive, you will start seeing the coincidences in what's going on or what you think's going on. So just be careful with that. I would suggest to people, definitely be careful with coincidences, because they can be pretty bad.
I thought it was a really cool quote, and I can't remember who said it or if it even had a tag on it, but it says, don't believe everything you think.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. So we do have a question from Angela. A question for both of you. What crystals do you both like to use when you are doing readings of any sort? So I'm going to say probably like Erin, amethyst is one of my number one favorite crystals. I have an amethyst mala. I have amethyst rings, everything. Amethyst is like my go-to. I am constantly in contact with it. I would also suggest selenite, because selenite is also a protection and a negative energy cleanser. Any crystals that are going to put protection into place for specifically mediums, psychics, and intuitives, any type of healing that we do, jet is one of our number one protection crystals that cleanse our energy, as well as black tourmaline. Those are very, very big for protection, and you want to make sure that when you're doing any kind of healing, readings, mediumship, any of those sorts of things, you want to make sure that your energy and the surrounding energy is protected for not only you, but your clients as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. The only thing I would add to that is I really like to also incorporate clear quartz, just for clarity and for amplification, so that messages come through fast and clear, and
Absolutely. So next thing, and then we're going to go on to talk about what her and I do and what we have coming up that we're offering. So next question for you is, when you were first starting out, I know that when I first started out, I had blocked all my abilities, and because I was attacked by a negative entity, traumatizing, I blocked everything, but I was still using my abilities. I just didn't realize what they were, how I was using them. I ended up seeing Tanza, who is going to be on one of my shows, hopefully very soon by the end of this month. She is actually one of Carmel's students as well.
Okay.
And she opened my eyes to what my abilities were and my possibilities. But for me, I can't answer this question yet because I haven't thought of it, and I'm going to make you answer it first. But for somebody just starting out, like Sky had asked, for somebody just starting out, what kind of advice or tips or tricks would you give them that you wish you had known when you were first starting out?
I think that the big thing that stands out for me is that it's a learning process. And it's not like you just like tune in, open it up, and then boom, it'll always come so freely and so easily, and you'll always be kind of at the same level with your gifts. It's still a learning process. It's still going to be a bit of a roller coaster ride. You're going to learn new techniques. So really it's just keeping a real open mind and trusting the process, and not letting, you know, a bad day get you down, really, or what is really a bad day. Just, there are no bad days, really. It's always a learning process. So
mindset work.
Yes. Yeah. Huge.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. And
go ahead.
I was just going to say, and to make sure that you're going into a reading ready. Don't try to speed up the process. Don't try to take shortcuts. Really.
Don't try to trick the psychic.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, that drives me nuts. Like people messaging you going, do you offer free questions? Well, no, I don't, because I don't need to prove to you what my abilities are. So no, it's not going to happen. I've had that quite often. And just about every time I shoot it down, because my time and my gifts are valuable to me. And absolutely, I'm not going to, just go, I'm going to answer all your questions.
People don't see the work that goes in behind it. Like,
no,
whether I'm answering one question or doing an hour mediumship, my process is the same. I still do my meditation. I still tune in with spirit, ask my guides, angels to join. The process is still the same. And it still takes me about an hour to do that. Or at least that's the time that I'm willing to commit to it.
A lot.
Yeah. So no, it's not just like we always have this, crazy connection just all the time. It's like, no, I have to. I'm really careful with my boundaries. I make sure I turn it on and turn it off.
I find with my psychic intuition, with my psychic intuitive gifts, because there is a difference between that and mediumship. Yes. I find because I don't focus on providing that mediumship aspect, that I can, like I'm sure you can as well. If you were just doing a psychic question, you could probably answer that within seconds, right? Just because you're always connected, just not always mediumship connected, right? And that's where those boundaries come into place, right? I was going to respond to that mindset too. One of the mindset pillars, I just released my 7 mindset pillars, which are the signature foundation of my mindset coaching. They also kind of go hand in hand with my psychic intuitive coaching, because you have to have the right mindset. And it's 99% of it is just having faith in yourself. So my 7 mindset pillars are self, because of course we have to have beliefs about ourselves. Spirituality, whatever that may look like to you. Relationships of the romantic sort, because we all have mindset beliefs surrounding those. Family, friends, career and business, as well as financials. Those are our 7 pillar mindset systems. Okay. So those I just came out with. And like I said, with the spirituality one, it's it's definitely, you have to be in the right mindset. You have to be able to have love of yourself, love and support of your friends and family. And if you don't, you have to learn how to, you know, have the proper mindset to not care what they think, and not care that you're putting yourself out there. So I would suggest that anybody who's thinking of opening, understanding, loving, and using your psychic, intuitive, mediumship gifts, whatever you may call them, or whatever aspect of being a psychic medium that you're interested in using, that you would contact either myself or Erin to open those up and really learn how to use them. So for me, I do offer psychic intuitive coaching. I offer a 3-hour package where we figure out what your gifts and abilities are, and then of course a 3-month package where we teach you how to use them. So that is what I offer, but I know that Erin offers you something a little bit different. So why don't you tell us about that?
All right. I have two different things. And so I have weekly psychic development classes that I offer in my town, which is Kelowna, BC. So that's starting tonight, actually, is my next series.
Woo-hoo!
And then, I know, I'm so excited. And then I do a weekend workshop. So it's an in-person experiential workshop called Awaken Your Spirit, is the first kind of prerequisite to one. And it's all about, it's basically my 10-week series all shoved into a full weekend. And so it's pretty intensive, and but it teaches you a ton of different exercises and tools to kind of start your journey or to continue your journey. And so it's great for beginners, as well as people who have been doing it for a while, even if they're already doing readings, because maybe they're learning from different sources. And so it's nice to have it all kind of in one package. And so we do that over a Saturday, Sunday, kind of full days, not full days, 10 to 4. So it still gives you some time to rest and digest and absorb all the information and do
have some weekend fun.
Yes, absolutely. So people are coming. So it is held in Kelowna, and so if people are coming, my next one is going to be beginning of June 2nd and 3rd. So we're hoping by then the snow will be gone and we'll have some beaches ready to go. And so it is kind of a bit of a destination place, and so that's what I want to incorporate too, is enough time to really explore the region and for people who could come from out of town if they wanted to really to immerse themselves in our little.
So there's a lady, one of the Sky, the lady who had asked about opening and keeping them open. She's from Kelowna, living in Alberta. But there's also Lori, who is just outside in Merritt. And he wants to know what your link is. So if once we're done, or if she has a moment, we will get Erin to post the link to those in the comments, as well as a link to her Facebook page or website, all of that. You can also find it on my website, on the Melissa's Monday Madness page, because I share everybody's info. Might as well. Okay, so now, does anybody watching have any questions that they would like to ask either myself or Erin regarding jewelry, oils, mediumship, psychic abilities, all of that fun stuff? I'm actually done asking my questions. So that's awesome. I think this is the quickest one we've ever done so far, which is awesome. Went super smooth. So we will stay on and chat for a few more minutes, ask some questions, and yeah, go from there. I do want to promo, because why not promo a little bit? I will be releasing my book for pre-sale probably tomorrow.
Ooh, that's exciting.
I'm super excited, and it will be on sale for the next 2 weeks until I actually release the book itself. With the promo, if you do want to do the pre-sale, it will be on for $3.75. It's just a small book, so it's not going to be super expensive. And with the pre-sale, you will get a little teaser page. And for anybody wondering what my book is about, it is about
Yeah.
my past relationships, how I was able to take my past relationships, learn the lessons from those relationships, not only on myself and my behaviors, but what I wanted out of my own twin flame, and how I was able to shape my relationship with Tom. As most of you know, I am married to my twin flame. How I was able to shape and create that space for him and I based on what I didn't want and what I wanted to feel, not what he wanted. A lot of people tend to base their relationships on appearance, on careers, on business. Oh, I want my spouse to be tall, dark, and handsome and have a kick-ass job making millions of dollars. Well, in that case, if that's what you're focusing on, you may end up with a raving asshole who is going to treat you like crap.
Yes.
So that's the danger of not knowing exactly what you want to feel rather than...
Yeah. I heard a really interesting distinction yesterday between intention and ambition.
Yes.
And when you're setting an intention, it's all about what do you want to feel in the result of it. Whereas the ambition part of it, or like what you can actually make a goal of, is more like the tangible, material kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really insightful. Yeah.
Too many people get focused on what that other person should be or how they should act, or if you want, like my husband, who's my twin flame, literally my ideal partner, is a complete asshole. To everybody else, he is an absolute, even to me, he is an absolute asshole. He fights with me. We get like rip-roaring fights. But I actually found I needed that. I had a relationship, and here's a spoiler for my book. I had a relationship where I was a queen. He did everything I wanted. I was in complete control. If I wanted something, it happened. But there was no last to it. It was, I took advantage of him. I treated him like crap. And I created bitterness in his life because of my behavior. And so for me and Tom, for fighting, we both need it. We need that outlet. We need that negative release of energy that, but we've put boundaries into place to protect our relationship as well. Well, if I'm rip-roaring angry, I'm not talking to you until I can do it without reacting, right? Yeah. And there's different little keys. With the release of the book, though, I'm going to be doing a 7-day challenge, probably the beginning of May, on how you, everybody, can create your own relationship based on your needs by identifying your past. So it'll be a 7-day challenge based on the book on how to create your ideal partners. So, and that'll be going on in my Facebook group. So if you haven't already joined, you might want to do that, because it's going to be cool. I know, I'm super excited. I'm just like, yay! I called up a couple of my friends yesterday who are in the book, and I'm like, by the way, I'm releasing a book next week that you're in. They're like, oh. I'm like, yeah. Just had to be nice. I didn't do that with most people, just the people I'm still in contact with. I made sure that they had the heads up that there's a book and they're in it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I always wondered how that goes, because I love writing, and I will definitely be writing probably several books throughout my lifetime eventually. I kind of figure that's my retirement plan, is I'll just write about my life and my experiences, but I'm also very eager to get started. So that's really cool that you write too, and to get it all out. But I always wondered how that works when other people are and so do they know the part of the story?
Depending on who it is, I have, what is it? I think I detail out about 7 or 8 relationships, whether that be family, friends, exes, whatever it may be. Not all of them know that they're in the book. My mother's in the book. She knows she's in the book. She's probably never going to read the book. And I'm okay with that. I'd actually rather that. But at the same time, there's a disclaimer that I've put in the book, and I've already got 6 books on the go to go along with that. I think all of them are going to be in reference to like the 7 mindsets and how I created my own ideal life using my own past, because that's what I teach, right?
Yeah.
use your past to create the life you love. But with that, I put a disclaimer in the books to make sure that any representations or any memories or any situations or any people that I reference in the book, they're based on my beliefs, my memories, my experiences, and that they may not necessarily be the same as theirs, right? Because everybody has different everybody has different ways of viewing their past, so it might not mesh with them. But I did also keep names out of the book. Tom's name isn't even in the book, so we tried to keep it non-naming as possible. Yeah, you'll only know you're in the book if you've experienced it with me. So,
and you can kind of recognize yourself in there.
Absolutely. Or people that you know. I'm excited. I'm terrified as well, but I'm excited, definitely excited. So Lori asks, I am new on my spiritual journey. What books would be good for me? I have a Lightworkers book I am reading now. As a Lightworker, I would also suggest you look into shadow work. A lot of people will tell you not to focus on negative, not to acknowledge negativity. I think that is very wrong, because if you've got a keg stack and you keep filling that keg stack of gunpowder, it's going to go off. Ignoring your negativity, it's going to explode into the rest of your life. And that's not a scare tactic. It's just part of life. If you're unhappy with something, if you've got a negative belief system about something and you don't work at it and don't learn the lesson from it, you're just going to keep growing. So.
Sense. Yeah.
Other than that, I didn't read a lot of books on my own gifts. I followed different people. I did learn a lot from Carmel Joy Baird. I learned from Gabby Bernstein. Other than that, though, 90% of my stuff I've done on my own. When I started realizing things, like I would take the lessons, like negative entities came from Carmel Joy Baird. And that was a huge lesson for me because I had been attacked by one. So learning that from her was extremely valuable. But like meditation, people talk about how they meditate, and Carmel does meditation. Tanza does meditation. A lot of women do meditation practices. And I sit there going, no, It never worked for me. And one of the things that I teach in my psychic intuitive coaching is that, like, meditation didn't work for me. The way that everybody taught to meditate did not work for me. And Spirit turned around and said, Melissa, no, this isn't how you do it. And they showed me what meditation was for me. And now that's what I teach. Meditation is for me, meditation isn't clearing your mind. It's clearing your emotions.
Okay.
Because if you're trying to clear your mind, you get people with ADD, ADHD who use the excuse, oh, I can't clear my mind. I'm not diagnosed ADD or ADHD. I cannot clear my mind. There's no way that I can quiet my mind enough to meditate and not have anything flow through my head. So what I do is, for me, the purpose of meditation is to calm my emotions so that all of the stuff that needs to go through my head, needs to be processed, needs to be worked through, can go through calmly with no emotion tied to it, and I can release it then, right?
Yeah.
I can take it emotionless and move on. And that's, for me, what meditation is. It's calming my emotions so that I can remove that negative or remove that hurt or anger or, even joy I feel on something, and sit down and think about it and go, well, this isn't exactly going to be beneficial for me, right?
Right.
Like, it's not just negativity. You have a positive experience that you're like, oh my God, I have to do this. This is amazing. Like, get on top of this, right? Impulse buying. I'm super bad for impulse buying. Well, you sit there, and I almost started working with somebody. And when I went to go work with them, I realized I was about to spend $3,000 working with this person. And I was all hyped up and I was pumped up and I was feeling really excited and really happy. And then all of a sudden I sat back and I said, Melissa, because I'm respecting my money, I said, Melissa, you need to calm down. We need to think about this, really think about it. And I took some time, listened to music, which is my meditation. Absolutely. That's my happy place.
Yeah.
Calmed those emotions. And I was able to realize that what I was paying for wasn't actually what I was getting. I wasn't getting what I thought I was getting and what my impulses had put into that work with her. So I had to change it and say, okay, well, maybe I'm not getting this. It's still a good thing. It's still a positive, but I need to work it for my best interest, right? So even when you're really excited about something, calming those emotions is usually a pretty good idea. Oh God, you meet the man of your dreams and then 5 minutes later, he's not. So it can go for anything along those lines. So.
No, I think that's a really valid point. I think probably for me too, the most common misconception of meditation is clearing the mind. I think it's more about stepping back and being the observer of your mind and watching the thoughts go by without judgment and just be like, oh, with a really curious, observant mind.
No
going,
emotion.
oh, why am I thinking that? Yeah. Take the emotion right out of it and just be like, oh, I wonder where that comes from. And oh, I wonder where that stemmed from and why am I thinking that right now? And how did that come up? And so just stepping back and being the observer of your own mind, your own life.
Well, that's why meditation is so good for opening your intuition and connecting to spirit, because when you remove those emotions, you're removing your ego.
Yeah.
You don't have your ego. You don't have those negative mindset beliefs that you or other people have put into your head saying, oh, well, I'm just making that up. It's coincidence. No, you're actually in that calm frame of mind where you're thinking like that came from me. And it gives you that time to process it. So absolutely. It's nice to hear somebody else agree with my analogy on right? Because too many people aren't doing it because that's what they think. Meditation, literally 15 seconds. 15 seconds. Gabby Bernstein came out with it and I totally love it. 15 seconds to meditate. You breathe in and you count to 5. Breathe in for 5 seconds. Hold for 5 seconds, exhale for 5 seconds. By the end of that, your emotions are calm. Your whole body is calm. Mind change.
And there's science behind it. If you want to look into it, there's tons of different science behind it. And that's why we count for kids, is because it takes them from the emotional brain back to the logical brain, and they can calm down and look at the situation, rationally. So, yeah.
I love that. That's People don't see those things, right? And they don't pay attention. And everybody gets caught up in these hypes. And the funny part is, and this is why I say 90% of my stuff comes from me and isn't like outside influenced. When I wrote my paper or my analogy on meditation, grounding, visualization, I hadn't heard Gabby's 15-second rule. Like I hadn't even, my 7 mindset pillars. I created those, wrote them all down, did them all out. It took me an hour. And then I was like, maybe I should Google this just to see, right? Because I didn't do any research beforehand. And it was literally as I was building or revamping my coaching practice that I came out with the 7 mindset pillars. And so I Googled it, and there's actually another group that has 7 mindset. It's called 7 mindset. And differently, it's not the same. It's not the pillars. It's, I can't remember what it is. Totally different scenario. But yeah, I do my research after I've already written it out, and I'm just like, very protective of my stuff, and that's probably why, because I put that effort into it. I let spirit tell me, okay, Melissa, it's time to sit down and write. I wrote my book in 7 hours because I sat down and I said, okay, it's time to write. Let's just flow, right? And you have to trust yourself and you have to trust spirit. And that would be one of the biggest things that I say to people. No matter what you believe you can or can't do, have faith that it doesn't freaking matter. Like it does not matter. So biggest lesson from me there today.
Yeah, I really strive to be unique and come up with unique ideas. And when I do the same thing, so I'll write something down, I'm like, oh wow, that's a really brilliant idea. And then, okay, I'm just gonna curiosity Google and see if anybody else has come up with such a thing. And you feel like, it just fills the feed and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. But then I remind myself, I'm like, okay, well, it wouldn't be called a universal consciousness if
Yeah,
people weren't able to tap into those same ideas at the same time. And
absolutely.
that's why music too has its trends, because when you sit down to write a song, you're tapping into that universal consciousness. And so you'll all of a sudden you'll see different songs with certain themes pop up around the same time. And
Absolutely.
yeah.
I actually find that musicians, and you see it a lot, it's not even just musicians, but very highly successful actors, actresses, musicians, songwriters. What was it? Last year, I believe it was, I went to a trade show, and this was shortly after Chester had committed suicide. And I sat there and I thought about it, and I'm like, they have such amazing minds, such amazing content, and such a connection to spirit, to their own intuition, and that's how they come up with this amazing content. But they're so negative. Like they can create all this beautiful stuff, but everybody figures, oh well, they've got the perfect lives. They're struggling. Like a lot of the time, they're struggling. And it's because they don't understand. They don't get help. They're in the spotlight and they're scared to let themselves be vulnerable other than in their music or their acting. And it's traumatic, absolutely traumatic. And I'd love to help them get through that because it's just mindset, all just mindset.
Yeah.
Controversial, but I believe that 90% of our crap is caused by our own mindset. So the other 10% is predestined bullshit that we have to go through to, for our higher selves to learn and grow, which I fully believe we have to do. And I'm not angry about it, but that's child abuse. If you're abused as a child, that's part of that 15% of predestined bullshit that you've got to go through.
Yeah.
How you look at it.
I believe too that we pick our lessons. We might not necessarily pick how we're going to learn the lesson. But yeah, I think we choose lessons that we want to learn, and then life gives us the situations to learn it. And sometimes it can be repeated until you learn the lesson. And so some people can go through a lot of trauma in their life, and maybe they didn't have to go through so much because they had an opportunity to learn the lesson. But it also gives me hope because you can stop learning that. You can delve right into that and be done and not have to have it come back up again.
Well, and that's victim mentality. I did a blog post a few weeks ago on victim versus victim mentality. As a child, if you're being abused as a child, you're a victim.
Yes.
If you're an adult, and I am not victim shaming, I will highlight that in red letters. I am not victim shaming here. I do not believe that the first time, if you're in an abusive relationship, and I have been, and I've seen many of them, if you are an adult or a teen, and you are in an abusive relationship, you have a choice. The first time that you are abused, you are a victim. When they are done, the first time, say you're smacked. If you are smacked across the face, you were a victim when you were smacked across the face. The minute that stops, you are no longer a victim and you have a choice. Which a lot of people get angry with me about because they believe I'm victim shaming, and I'm not. Everybody, you have a choice. The reason you don't make the choice to remove yourself from the abuse is because of your mindset. Yeah. You do not believe that you have the choice. You do not believe that you have the capability to make the choice. You do not believe in yourself. That is what keeps you in the victim mentality.
Yeah. I know.
Terrible?
I would absolutely agree. And it's a harsh truth because, shame is an interesting thing. I think when people call shame on something, I think everyone is just experiencing life from their own experiences, and they can only speak to what they've experienced. And if they've learned that lesson and they've gone through it and they had to do the hard work to stop being the victim or to get out of that victim mindset, then I don't think it's shaming somebody else. They're still just going through it. And so it's like, look, it can be done. This is what is possible. It should be a beacon of hope and a beacon of light for people who are going through it now. If it's coming from a person who's been there, done that, look, it's possible you can get out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So I don't see any more questions. Okay. So I think we are just about done. I want to thank you and give you my gratitude for joining me. I am loving doing Melissa's Monday Madness. I am thankful for the ladies and gentlemen who joined us today. I really appreciate the fact that you joined us, the fact that you tuned in and gave us your time. And I look forward to hosting another episode next Monday. Erin, thank you so much for being my guest. I really appreciate it. I think that you and I had some breakthrough conversations that a lot of people are going to receive value from. For anybody who wants Erin's information, she will be posting it on the page or on this video. And her website is also on my website, melissakretschler.com/Melissa's Monday Madness, because this video and every video that I do every Monday has its own freaking page. So we're going to join that. I love it. And I will let you say your goodbyes, and then we'll let you.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed our conversation today, and I think this is an amazing platform that you're doing to get these topics out there and to just have a discussion around it, because I think that's where change will happen, is when people start the discussions and start to have the whole conversation and not
absolutely
rely on stereotypes or
One of the stereotypes too that I find, and sorry to interject, is that women, men, whoever are in business think that it's a cutthroat business. I'm a coach, you're a medium, I'm a medium. There's no competition. No. You have your own messages. I have my own messages. Why not share them? And that's the point of me doing these videos. I was feeling very competitive. I was feeling like I had to compete with the likes of Melissa Badine and Melissa Joy Baird. I was feeling very competitive towards them. And I realized why. I love them. I value what they provide to their clients, but I have a different message, and that's okay. And so for people, it's about supporting each other. It's an enlightened time. We are trying, all of us Melissas, because I just mentioned 3 of us, Erin, other coaches, other business owners, everybody who is trying to enlighten the world, that this can be a loving, amazing, non-competitive, very supportive world. Absolutely. We just have to make it that way.
Yeah.
One person at a time. So if I can do my part every Monday and have wonderful women like you and men, I haven't had any men on here yet, and it doesn't look like I'm going to have some for a while, but if you know of anybody who's watching, if you know of anybody who would like to join Melissa's Monday Madness, male or female, the requirement is you must own or run your own business, whether it's an MLM, whether it's a home-based business, whatever it may be. You must be passionate about what you do. That is my only requirement. So make sure you check out, again, melissakretschler.com/Melissa's Monday Madness, triple M, I like to call it, and make sure that you let me know you want to join, or if you have an idea of a specific guest you'd like me to host. So much love. Again, thank you so much, Erin. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us. I will talk to you all later. And don't forget to go and take a look at Erin's website. She's got some kick-ass stuff coming. Much love, guys. Bye.